right, y'all. Welcome to another episode of 2020 Vision Podcast. I am your host, your diva, your queen extraordinaire, comedian visionary speaks. We are coming to you live, honey, semi-live because it's pre-recorded. But we are coming to you with another wonderful group of panelists to discuss another deep dive into a conversation that we need to have, honey. And today's conversation is about relationships and the titles that bind us. Because in a relationship, you got all these titles that mean certain things that we need to discuss. Do they matter anymore in 2020? Do millennials care about titles? What do we think about marriage? What do we think about boyfriend-girlfriend shit? Let's talk about it. So let's get to the topics and let's get to the group. So first up to the stage is my girl, Tate. Welcome to the podcast, baby. Yes, this is my friend. I've been knowing her damn near my whole life, basically to the point where it was at the beginning of my memory is when I met her. So welcome to the podcast, baby. We're glad to have you.
Thanks for having me, baby.
Yay. All right, next up, we have a videographer, photographer, extraordinaire, all around good guy, all around hustler. Let's bring Clarence to the stage. Welcome, Clarence.
How you doing, Faith?
What's going on? When I tell you this man is a professional, okay? He gets the job done. All his videos, everything that he's done, it looks like a movie, baby, okay? So give him all the props. We're going to get into all of that branding and stuff later. But thank you, Clarence. Welcome to the stage. All right. And now we got our beautiful Miss Red. She is a tattoo artist of the stars, honey. And by the stars, it's the niggas in the hood that think they everything. So bring it to the stage. Come on, Lady Red. How you doing, baby?
I'm doing good. How are you, hon?
So glad to see you in your lovely pink hair. Yes. Giving us a roll, okay? And last but certainly not least, you've seen her on the show before. She is a queen, okay? And she's going to give us all that good knowledge. Come on, comedian Veronique to the stage, baby. Welcome. Yes. Come on, don't let us not have her. There we go. Yes. Okay, got her sound.
It took a little bit.
You know, they'll wait on greatness. You wait on greatness, baby. You wait on it. Okay? So I'm so glad to have this group of panelists. I'm so glad to talk about this topic.
Okay.
She gets it. She gets it. All right. So we're going to get right into it with the topic of today being relationships. So let's just go through the group and we'll start with myself and we'll talk about where we are in our title that is binding us at this moment. So I am married. I've been married for almost a year now. We're actually coming up on my 1-year anniversary. We done made it almost through quarantine. Yes, Lord. So 1 year, October 19th, so 10/19/19. Marriage is marriage. I'll leave it there. So Tease, where you at in your relationship status? What's your Facebook status?
Whoosh. Oh, Lord. I am very single at this moment. I can't say that I'm really looking. What's looking? Like I'm on the prowl? I ain't really on the prowl. I'm kind of handling my business right now.
Okay.
But I know a lot about the shit though.
She does. Okay. Very single. Very single. All right. Clarence, what's your status?
That's gonna be.
Don't give it complicated.
It's not complicated. There's an understanding being had.
Okay. So the title though, what would you call it? Or is it no title? Is it just up in the air?
I'm booed up, but we're just no titles. We just know what it is.
That's the title.
There's an understanding.
We gonna come back to that.
That if I talk to somebody that one or two people may end up in the ER and she understands the same.
Okay. We're gonna accept that for now.
Respect. I feel that.
All right, Veronique, where you at? Where you at with the titles and such?
I'm fairly newly single, so.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm not on the prowl, but I'm out here. I'm like, oh, the streets is like, oh, hey girl, how you been? Where you been at? I'm like,
I
hey,
ain't seen you in the minute.
y'all looking cute. I didn't.
Bury that. Okay. I can appreciate that.
I wish it wasn't a pandemic.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll appreciate that newly singles. That I could smell your newly singleness. I could smell it on the prowl. All right, Erica. Where? Red. Jesus, Lady Red. Where we at? She gonna answer to whatever this red wine is gonna give us today. But Red, where you at on the status?
I'll react to either one of them. Okay. I am single but dating.
Okay.
Ain't no relationship in here.
All right. So we got a couple single folk. We got a couple of complicated folk. And then we got a married folk. And then we're literally talking about titles. This nigga like, I don't know about these titles. All these titles you speak of, but we got to understand.
My mother's prison love.
So we'll come back to that. So in talking about relationships and how we see relationships, do we feel, and we'll go in order, do you feel like the title of, and we'll get not marriage yet, but boyfriend and girlfriend, do you feel like that is a important title to establish in a relationship? Do you have to establish whether you guys are boyfriend, girlfriend, or even exclusive to one another? Because those are different things. You could be boyfriend and girlfriend, but that don't mean you're always exclusive. So is a title important to you? And if so, why? So let's switch it up and start with Clarence. Let's go. Is titles important to you, Clarence?
It's like, it depends on where you are with that person for me. But all in all, I'm like, you can have titles and they really don't mean nothing because it's just a title. It's all about actions. So all in all, like, not really. It used to be a big deal to me. And then, I grew up. But, I've been married and divorced. So for me, it's like titles aren't that big of a deal. It's just more so loyalty for me. Black people will go together forever, But then it's just like, what does that mean? It's all loyalty. We grew up around loyalty. We grew up around, you got to think, a lot of grandparents, they didn't even wear rings. They just knew what it was. So that's where I'm at with it.
Okay. Grandparents had an understanding. I mean, I'm understanding.
They understood if you.
Half of them weren't married. But they had an understanding and they had about 8 kids. Veronique, what do you think about titles? Do you think a title is important to have in order to have a relationship?
I do believe titles for me are important, but I feel like I'm more open-minded about what that title can look like. Okay. I'm not so sold on marriage being end all be all like I used to. My own father told me, I'm 31. My parents been married for 32 years. He said marriage is the worst contract a woman could sign. So I'm like,
come on, Daddy.
Whoa.
My daddy. My own daddy.
Levels.
I've heard that before, though. So, marriage is a bad contract.
It's revelatory, especially the older you get. It's just like, oh. And it's always in revision, it seems like, for marriage. Especially since we're all growing. Things are always up for discussion. So
absolutely.
That's how I feel about titles.
As they should be. Tease, what do you think about titles? Are they important to a relationship?
You know what? Honestly, it's just actually a couple of you said it already, but it's more so about like action. So to me, the title means nothing if you're not behaving like you belong to someone. Does that make sense? And when I mean belong, I don't mean like actual ownership, like the way people use the title to control things. I just mean like, are you making, like, doing things with your partner in mind, right? Like, are you being considerate, or are you just like the idea of like saying this name, this title, this her and him and all that, you know, she or he, you know.
Okay. All right, Red, what do you think? Do you think that titles are important to a relationship?
100%. I don't know what anybody else is talking about. Y'all fooling. A title represents a understanding and a commitment moving forward. If you have no ground rules, you have no way X, Y, Z, we're going north, south, east, west. Everybody's just flowing in their own direction. How are we going to come together if we're both not on the same accord? A relationship gives us a pathway to whatever destination we're trying to get to together. And understanding that you and I are now committed to one another. There is no outside interference, except for if you want there to be a third party, then you talk about it. But a relationship lets you know where you stand definitively with that individual. Now, what the specifics of that relationship entail is completely up to you. But as far as having a grounded understanding of this person is my person, not in an ownership way, but just having a ability to understand where everyone is standing at that moment, then you move forward with whatever that means for you. But a relationship in and of itself 100% needs to be established, or you are single. You are single.
Okay.
If we did not have that discussion, I'm single.
Okay. All right. So, in a lot of ways, you guys are all kind of on the same wavelength. Myself, I'm on a different wavelength because I said time and time again, God forbid anything ever happened to myself of this marriage or to him during this marriage that caused us not to be married anymore. But if anything like that were to happen, I said I would never be somebody's girlfriend again, ever. For the simple fact that I think that titles are bullshit for the most part, at least boyfriend, girlfriend titles are, because that doesn't bind you to anybody in any kind of way that is specific. You know, like there are people who want to call themselves a boyfriend or girlfriend or call somebody else a boyfriend or girlfriend just because they don't want them to be with anybody else. And if they have that understanding that you're my boyfriend, you are my girlfriend, you can't be with somebody else. And then there's that issue of people having problems with being faithful to that titleage of boyfriend and girlfriend, and having issues with not being able to meet other people. Because technically, like Red said, if you ain't married, you are single. Like you are not anybody's wife or husband in the eyes of the law. You have no qualms to that person. So why just tie yourself down to one person for a long period of time? Because I've been in relationships long term that have not worked out. And there goes that amount of time that you can't get back. You can't get it back. So you've been a girlfriend or a boyfriend to this person. You've been exclusive with this person. Y'all had an understanding. But now that didn't work out. And you're back out here in these streets, starting over again at whatever age you're doing so. So I just wonder, can you have that understanding without having the title? And can you get to know somebody or multiple people without them having to put a claim on it like a relationship, you know? Because Beyonce said, if you like it, then you should have put a ring on it. So let's talk about that. Like, can you have that relationship aspect? Or let's say you're dating. Could you date multiple people without having any kind of title? And if that person likes you enough, then they'll propose. What do you guys think about that concept? Let's start with Tease this time.
First of all, you articulated that very well. But honestly, I feel like it all depends on where a person is, like what level of maturity they're on, right? And so you're talking about making a commitment or being open and honest about what a person wants, okay? And, you know, what they're open or willing to do. And I feel like that's something that a lot of people haven't necessarily like grasped, okay? So just in a perfect world, right? In a perfect world, sure. I do think that a person who has that level of understanding that this is not about control, this is about a commitment and growth between two people. I do feel like that is something that can be, established. But other than that, like, no. In today's dating, in my experience, let me not put that on everybody. In my personal experience, I don't know that a lot of people are very forthcoming with what they want. They see the title as an opportunity to control or say I have something that someone else doesn't have, this girlfriend or this boyfriend or whatever, but they're not really in it for the person. They're not about doing the work and, going through all the day-to-day or whatever problems might come. Like, they're not for that. They're just for what it looks like. The TV, even if they're like thinking about their grandparents, like somebody mentioned grandparents relationships, like traditionally, like they're not really grasping the entire, like, what does that look like today in 2020?
Right. Okay. Exactly. I think that there is a line of maturity and understanding because, and I want you guys to weigh in a little bit more of this. I had a situation where a friend of mine called, and I'll leave the names unknown, but she was talking about how she had saw somebody she was interested in and had assumed that they were dating, and she saw them post a picture with somebody else, and that made her very upset because she felt like they had an understanding that they were dating exclusively, but that person was with somebody else, and she completely cut that person off. And I was thinking, from my perspective, that she may have lost an opportunity there, because I know that she may have thought she was with that person, but there were no binds to that person, and she really liked getting to know that person. So it's like, now you don't get to know if they will be your person because you've already written them off because you saw them with somebody else. And I know that is being like, that's kind of you trying to own them a little bit in their actions, instead of you saying, oh, I see you, but they're not better than me. So I'm going to show you that I'm worth your time, that you should be with me rather than you getting mad because they were with somebody else. So Clarence, what do you think about that type of situation where people get jealous, over people, or even in situations where there's cheating and you're like, but that was mine. You supposed to be with me only. How do you feel about those type of situations?
I feel like a lot of people have faced that situation, whether they've been the cheater or the person to be cheated on. And in that moment, you kind of have to, like, I've been both. And it comes down, in both situations for me, it always comes down to, like, what does this person really mean to you? Are you communicating? A lot of it, titles, it's a title. Like, it's your car until somebody take it. You know what I'm saying? Like, like, how bad do you want it? You want to file a claim on it? You want to go look for it? All of that's energy. It's just like communication leads to, a level of trust. And without communication and not only being honest with yourself, but being honest with that person while being honest with yourself is a huge step. And a lot of people miss the first part, is being honest with yourself. You don't need a title with somebody if you don't know how to be honest with yourself. Because, like me, in my previous marriage, I got married, and then some months later started again, for the first time in years, being honest with myself and realized, like, this ain't even what I want for real. My kids look miserable. And I got out of there. So despite any occurrence that can happen, until you're honest with yourself, it don't matter what the title is. If you're not communicating with that person, the communication is mediocre without that level of honesty. Being honest with that person, cool. Yeah, I had pizza earlier, but being honest with yourself, I really would have liked to have had pizza with you.
Mm-hmm.
Two different levels of communication when you're talking to somebody. So those titles, they're cute. You know what I'm saying? But unless you hit this different level, there's maturity, that's one thing, but there's people that are less mature, but are honest with themselves. Therefore, they're having better, relationships. A relationship is just a bond between two people.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that they belong to. That's just their relationship. I have a relationship with Visionary. You know what I'm saying? I did a wedding. We locked in. Our communication is phenomenal.
Right.
So I think a lot of people, they have a lot of things to fix within themselves, like I did, in order to get to a level to where they understand that these titles are very surface level. I get it, but it's like it's kind of vain in a way,
Yeah.
because that bond you get with somebody is so much stronger than any title somebody can have. Somebody, oh, this is my man, and you look like me and my lady, we'd be looking at people like, all right. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you can pick up on the energy, like, that ain't, you calling that, but he's definitely looking like a mother. You know what I'm saying? Like, but me, I'm damn near stiff arming chicks, like, you ain't heard, like, oh, fuck on my face. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it's just, me and my lady went through a lot. I met her in November. So we had titles, and then things went crazy, and we ended up linking back, and we put a lot into titles, and then as opposed to taking the time to communicate, get to know each other, and so on and so forth, now our bond is ridiculous. We just rocking. Like, who cares? We rocking with each other. We see each other every day.
Okay, that's a beautiful way to look at it. Miss Red, I see. I saw a lot. If y'all was watching her body through.
Oh yeah, she's about to flip.
Her hair was about to go red for real. What do you think about, like, so the topic right now is going around, like, the jealousy and the cheating ends of, like, titles. So you can have the title, but that don't mean they're gonna be faithful. So what do you have to say about that?
Okay, well, as far as the titles are concerned, it's almost like giving the title to a book. Like, the title could be great, but what's underneath there? Like, do you guys communicate, have an understanding of what this title means for the both of you? Because a relationship can mean different things to two different people.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you both are communicating effectively of what you expect, what do they expect early on, don't wait 6 months, a year into this, and then you're wondering, like, why he cheating on me? Did he tell you? Did you guys have a conversation about exclusivity? He's like, yeah, we quote unquote fuck with each other, but I'm not your man, according to his mindset. Did you even ask him, or did you just assume? Assuming makes an ass out of you. Never assume. Get clarification. When it comes to a relationship, regardless if it's a friendship or a physical relationship, someone you're dating, as long as you guys have a healthy level of communication moving forward, expectations and understanding will be synonymous with each other. It's when you don't ask questions, when you just start assuming, and you don't have any ground level for whatever this is when people start to, like, trip up and have expectations that don't reflect what's actually going on. So when you say that, like, relationships, Clarence, you said that relationships and like the title of relationship is surface level, I think it's actually the ground point, ground zero of what you're building moving forward, because you can't build a castle on sand. So if you guys don't have a foundation moving forward, nothing that you do will grow.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's I have a follow-up to that. So the thing that I see is not that people don't buy into that relationship title. They know that I'm your boyfriend, you my girlfriend. We supposed to be exclusive, and we're supposed to be one to one another and no other. That I've also seen those same people have issues with fidelity and have issues staying, basically they're doing single shit in a tight up relationship. Some people
go ahead.
Yeah, okay, and I'm gonna let you rebuttal. And sometimes, and even if they have an understanding, what I seem to find is that some people don't know that they're supposed to be single. And they drag people along because they're not willing to let that person go. Like, you could be with somebody that's your main one. You love this girl, really want to be with this girl. You could even see yourself marrying this girl, but you're not ready yet. But you don't want her to go out there and find somebody else while you not being ready. You really supposed to be single, so you're doing single bullshit on the side. But you really love this girl, so you telling her you my girlfriend, so you can't be with anybody else because you're afraid that she'll find somebody else who will treat her right. So in those type of situations, what do you think as far as, because the title don't mean shit if the person doesn't have an understanding. The title ain't, to me, it's not the foundation. The title is just what we put a name on. It's kind of like black. Black is bullshit. Okay, none of us are black. It's just the title that they put on our skin color. And then the assumption that comes with being a black person. So I'm going to let Erica rebuttal, then I'm going to hand it over to Veronique. So Erica, what do you think about just the title itself? Is nothing if it's not an understanding.
I mean, I feel like it just, as far as I can only speak from my perspective, so speaking as a female, I believe that we need to have a more male mindset. Males are very discerning. If one thing doesn't work out, they're gone. They're like, F you, family, fuck everything you stand for, I'm gone. Like, for real, like, a lot of dudes will do that. They have a certain level of discernment. When you disrespect me, I am no longer going to be associated with you or anything that you stand for. A lot of women, they want to like hold on to a relationship because they're like, they don't want to be embarrassed around their family. They don't want to be alone. People don't understand what it means to be alone and work on yourself, because you can't give to someone else if your cup is empty. But a lot of women were brought up to believe that they have to have a mate in order to feel whole. So I want people to understand that, like, yeah, okay, relationships in and of themselves may not always work, but when it doesn't work, stop trying to fix something that's completely broken. That cup is broken. It's constantly leaking. Let it go. Let it go. Men have a certain level of discernment, and we being millennials, we have the best opportunity out of any generation. We got Tinder, we got Bumble, we got everything. Our level of reach for the masses of the world is so small. That one person may not be your everything. It may be your moment. That person may be your moment, not your forever. They're there to teach you something about yourself so that you can become a better person moving forward. But if you're always trying to hold on to something so tight and you can't realize that you need to let it go, that's when you start getting hurt over people who are not supposed to be there. Let them go. Let them go. If they're not fulfilling what you're trying to achieve, it's okay. There are billions of other people on the planet. That man is going to find somebody else next week. You can do that also. You're beautiful, you're powerful, you're smart. Learn to love yourself before you love anybody else.
Okay. All right. I'm going to give you the 3 snaps for that, okay? Not the reason, the season of the lifetime she just gave us. Yes. Okay. Queen Veronique, what you got on this?
Well, I ain't even one to stick around for cheating, so. But I feel like very much to Red's point, like a lot of they don't recognize that they need to adopt a little bit of that male mindset of, oh, you're gonna continue to keep disrespecting me?
Me?
I'm out. Bye. No, we out. That's it. Me? All of this, like when I had my parent. Well, no, you need to. I don't see. I vote get out for the whole. No, don't get me started. But like, I feel like a lot of times people continue to think that just because their parents went through the whole, like, oh, your granddaddy went and cheated and I stayed, but you just gotta keep working it out. That's not one of those struggles that you need to keep working it out with. Like, it's just not ever. I mean, unless y'all both out here just cheating, then y'all both could just come together and be like, oh, you know what? Open relationship.
Thank you. Just be open.
But fuck struggle love. Fuck all of that.
Fuck struggle love. Tease, what you got on that? And then we got Clarence. He is having a full-on headache. Clarence is like, my lord. He really gonna sound like an old man. Lord Jesus. Young girl.
Shoot.
Go ahead, T.
I
Yeah,
let
I
it
just
be
wanted
known
to make a point
immediately.
saying,
If you're
like,
gonna cheat on
basically-
me, I'm trying to fuck your daddy. That's it. I don't care no more. I do not care no more. I'm trying to fuck your daddy. That's it.
Yeah, I just wanted to
Veronique got a delay on hers, so we got. She said a comment 3 minutes ago. We like hearing it now.
Sorry.
It's okay. Go ahead, Tease.
I just wanted to make a point in saying that I think that we're missing the first of all relationships and how they're supposed to be. That's the social construct, right? And a lot of people attach relationships to their self-worth. So like we're saying it. I think that a lot of the times when we talk about this in groups of Black people, we're saying it without adding that extra layer. Okay. So like it's easy to say that this person should leave and should do that, but if this person is gonna feel worthless, then you can understand why it would be hard for them to detach themselves. I've never had that problem, but I do have friends who've had that problem, and I've had other not so. I wouldn't necessarily call them friends, like talking to them, trying to work through that, but that's that's the main thing. And also, when we were talking about, we kept saying like the whole be more like men, be more like men. So men, in my opinion, operate from a place of privilege, right? They're able to behave that way, right? It's more acceptable. So a lot of the times when a woman behaves like that, oftentimes she's corrected, right? So like I'm not saying whether or not she should or shouldn't behave like that. I am saying that if we were to say like, oh, I'm gonna leave my husband because he did this and blah blah. Somebody's gonna remind you that it's your job to work that out, right? Somebody's gonna remind you that it's your job to like make sure the relationship is working because all of that weight sits mostly on your lap. So I think that I just wanted to put that out there because I feel like if not, then that the answer wouldn't be well rounded. But I do respect everything that everybody has said so far.
Okay, well, let's get the man's perspective. That we out here acting like a man.
Please.
We all on this Beyonce. If I were a boy, like
so patient.
Don't nobody want to act like a man.
nobody want to act like a man.
The mentality.
I think that everybody should think. I think empathy is lost
Because it's
a lot of times,
it's always
and
about
everybody
men
should
having
look
to
at
go
each
back
other.
Empathy, not sympathy. Empathy.
Empathy, being able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes and think the way they think. Because, and I'm gonna come to you, Charles, but I think when we talk about these gender roles, especially in 2020, gender roles is a little different these days. Okay, because in my household, some of the gender roles that may be stereotypical to men aren't applying, or even women in my household. When there's something that needs to be built to put together, I'm doing that shit. You know, when it comes to taking a, I also do some of the traditional women, like I'm the one who cooks, but and there's also open communication things. We split our bills, according to how much you make. We both pay some bills. I don't sit back and just keep all my checks, even though I have considered that lifestyle. I'm just not there yet. But yeah, it's a difference. I think it just depends on your relationship. But every male-female dynamic isn't going to be, this is the role of the man and this is the role of the woman. So when we're putting ourselves in other people's positions, it's not by gender. It's more so by that person and thinking about who they are.
Yeah,
exactly. Mm-hmm. So Clarence, come on, give us some clarity, please.
Let me start off by saying I was raised by queens. I have a family full of women, and they're all very much different. Some harder than others. Some served in military. Some have been wives their entire lives. Some show unconditional love more so than others. But one thing they all have in common is that they're women, and they never try to play the role of the latter. Except my one aunt, because she's the male in her relationship now. But even then, they're all honest with themselves. That's one thing I learned. Like, it took me to get to a certain point in my life to really break that barrier for myself, and everybody does. But it always comes back to that. One thing we don't do, like, we have the cheat code. Like, Red was right. Like, this generation, we got the whole cheat code with everything. Information is all in front of us. Ways to talk to people is all in front of us. But one thing that we don't do, which is just human flaw, is take responsibility for self from jump. We want to point the finger all the time. You know, this person cheated, this person cheated. Like, why did they cheat? Why did you get cheated on? How did you possibly, is there a potential way that you allowed yourself to be cheated on? Because we are quick to play victim with everything. Male, female, we're quick to play victim like, you did that in the third. Like, did you just allow that shit to happen though? You know what I'm saying? Like, were you missing some things? Like me, I peep everything. I'm completely on the table with everything. So if something shake, it's just like, okay, you clearly just wanted to do that. So, you know, at that moment, you got to figure out if you even have the heart or mind to even care what they got to say, if you want to move forward the next minute with that person. If you do, what happens from there on out is on you. Or just shift gears and get the hell on. Because after that, it's on you. You know, if someone is giving attention to somebody else and you peep it and you stick around, at that point, it's no longer on them. It's on you because you're still there. Male or female, I see that happen. A lot of my clients are women and they get to talking about their dudes and I'm like, you dealing with it. Wow. And the half time I be knowing the guy, so I be knowing that, man, he legit fucked homegirl last night. But I don't be, some people I care about more than others, I'm like, you need to please see that before I end up hurting this boy. But it's hard to feel bad for a lot of people because they literally, I always tell people, don't complain about bleeding if you're holding a knife by the blade. Because I'm going to look at you crazy as hell. Like, if you don't put that fucking knife down, I'm not taking you to the hospital. I ain't got no Band-Aids. I ain't got paper towel, no towels, nothing, because you're just being an idiot. And that's what we do a lot. All of this comes down to responsibility for self. You know, things are going to happen. But in that moment when it happens, like my girl, her biggest thing with me is what I say and do, how I handle her in real time. In that moment. 5 minutes, 10 minutes is easy to say I'm sorry, but correct yourself in that moment. You have to take responsibility for yourself. So no matter what the title is or whatever, you won't get to a title that actually means anything if you're not ready for that shit with yourself. And you're not owning shit for yourself. Because you're going to see the whole world differently when you're at a peace spiritually, emotionally, with yourself. One person you thought you was in love with, like in my situation, when I hit that point, I was looking at her like, man, why the fuck am I even like arguing with you? I'm like, man, I left. I shattered my phone and bounced, got in a hotel room and didn't feel bad about it.
The phone. Jesus.
Lord. Hold on,
I got you, Red. Okay. Veronique's camera is above her arms, but I could tell that her arms was crossed at one point. That's how bad it got. I couldn't see her arms, but I knew she was like. That's how real it got. Erica, I could see her arms, so I knew that she was crossing. But we go. I'm segue into that, and then I'm gonna let y'all go. I'm gonna segue into it, and then I'm gonna call on y'all to go. But let's bring up this topic just as an example. The Cardi B Offset drama.
Hey man,
let's just it's a great example of relationships because a lot of people are trying to say, especially off of that dumbass lyric in one song that she don't cook, she don't clean, but she got that ring. One lyric, but the whole conversation became who's responsible for the relationship coming to an end. Is it her responsibility because she wasn't being who she needed to be, or what's accountability on him for cheating so much? You know, so I think when it comes to this, and we're gonna go to Red, and then we're gonna go to Veronique, then we're gonna come back up. But I think we have to. What I'm hearing a lot is A lot of people call it like you don't know your worth, and people don't know their worth, and people do settle for bullshit because they don't know their worth, and a lot of people are insecure. And you see it in stars and different people. Beyonce been cheated on, Toni Braxton been cheated on, all these beautiful people, Halle Berry been cheated on. They say like, "What? I can't believe that." But people are insecure, real talk. Like they don't think about the fact that these are real people who are constantly in the limelight, and they may look beautiful, but they may not be confident. And I see that in a lot of people because they don't know their worth, or somebody deteriorated their worth over time. And they don't know how to express it. So they allow whatever they think is love to take over, and they hold on to that love. But to go back to what Clarence's point is, who is responsible for a situation? Because when somebody cheats, there's two parts. There's the cheating that's going on, and the reason behind the cheating. Is it because they were supposed to be single, and they still out here trying to play in this relationship? Or is it because they're not happy, and that falls on the responsibility of the spouse, that maybe they didn't do all they can to keep that relationship going? So let's talk about that. Whose responsibility is it when the faithfulness goes out the window? Who is responsible for the relationship failure? Go ahead, Red.
You are responsible for yourself. Regardless if somebody has been the best that they can for you, been as communicative as possible, been as giving, been as loving, been everything that checks off of your list, if you decide to step out, you did that stepping out. You decided to do that. You decided to come out of your relationship and explore other options. That has nothing to do with the spouse. It has nothing to do with your girlfriend. They could be the best person for you or the worst person for you. But either way, you as an individual, specifically for us here in the United States, we have the ability to do whatever we feel like doing. You chose to do that. To Clarence's point, though, I don't like how you victim blame, saying that like it's your fault or it could be your fault for being cheated on. Granted,
That wasn't what I said, though.
something that's repetitive, and I will give you that. If something happened, first and foremost, that goes back to my point that you have to have a level of discernment that most men have and say, I'm cutting this off because it no longer serves me. I gave you my loyalty, my availability. You drop that ball. If you still decide to stay and that person repeats that process, then it becomes your fault. However, if it happens, when it first happens, I say that they are the victim and that person is to blame who decided to step out of that situation. As it pertains to Visionary, as pertains to your example of Offset did that shit. I have never understood when it came to him specifically why he decided to continue this pattern. You get this whole grandiose like display of love and affection when you first decided to step out on your wife, not your girlfriend, someone you went in front of God to proclaim is yours, that you will protect and serve for the rest of your life to death do you part. That is a level of commitment that's beyond boyfriend, girlfriend. You went to God and told him that this was my person that I'm going to protect. And I stepped out on her. And you did everything that you could possibly think of, the most grandiose positions that you could possibly put yourself in order to get her back. She'd lower her guard, say, man, maybe people make mistakes. I'm going to try for the sake of my daughter to give her like the security of a 2-parent household. And then you do it again. You don't value what you have. They're like little boys with toys, and then there are grown men. Grown men value what's put in front of them that has a tangible expectation moving forward, that they see growth moving forward. Boys with toys play with something once, get bored, and move on. He is a boy. He is a child. But it is nowhere near Cardi's fault because she has been the best wife that she could based on what she had able to provide her. If you guys know anything about her upbringing was shit. She didn't have the best example, but she tried. When she became a wife and a mother, she was committed to that relationship. And she never stepped out of it. There was no allegations of her doing anything, regardless of what her past may be, which people try to use against her. That happened before her marriage. She honored her marriage. Her husband did not. So in no way, shape, or form should people be like, oh, you don't cook, you don't clean, that's why he left you. It's like, no, even if she did, he still decided in that moment to step out on her. They got millions of dollars. They can have a in-home chef. They can have maids. They can have nannies. They got all the money in the world to do that. Oh, I messed up my life.
God damn it.
Have these amenities.
All right, let's get Veronique in there. Veronique, what you got to say? And then we're going to come back to Clarence, because Clarence just felt the hot seat. She done got so heated, she done knocked the light over. Go ahead and fix your light. Wow, you took this little light of mine. Veronique, what do you have to say on this topic of fidelity? It's coming, y'all. Just wait. Veronique, we can't hear you, baby. Can you hear now? Oh,
I can't hear her.
Let's see. Nope. Try to go out and come back in, and we gonna go over here to Clarence because he Eminem ready, and then we gonna go to Tease, and then Veronique go out and come back in, and then we'll get your ideas on this. He look like he on 8 Ball right now, about to go. Go ahead. I mean, he about to drop a verse about Mom Spaghetti. Okay, Clarence, what do you have to say about this? I know you feel like you were misconstrued, and I understand a little bit of what both of you guys are saying, but Clarence, go ahead and clarify yourself about fidelity.
My Mom's Spaghetti is fire, by the way. But
I'm sure it is.
like it's fire. But no, like I'm all about owning your shit. So it's never like when somebody cheats or something, when I say like what role did you play in that, is more so sometimes there is some self-reflection in others' actions. I'm not saying that it's on you, it's just that you can take something and see like what could I have done something. I always look at things and see like what role did I possibly play. I may not have played a role, but I at least want to acknowledge that it could have possibly been, even though, okay, that I may have done that, but still you trash, like, fuck you. You know what I'm saying? I'm not ever going to look at that and be like, well, okay, it was my fault. Like, hell no, you shouldn't have did that. But this whole Cardi B Offset thing, I feel like is a prime example of everything that we have been discussing as a collective. These are two young people that have created their lifestyles with the tools that are at our disposal. And the man, dude, boy, nigga, I consider him a nigga because he do nigga shit, which she honestly, like, she dated the person I figured she would date. Not saying him specifically, but the nigga. She's not gonna. I didn't think she'd get it right the first time. She may not get it right the third or fourth time. Hell, Angelina Jolie don't know who the fuck she want to marry. But you know, he did what he did, and I'm sure the only thing that came out is what they wanted us to hear. What slipped out. I'm sure there's been a lot of shit that occurred, you know, with them. He's a whole nigga, but at the same time, it's like, all right, baby girl, like. I feel like there's no way in hell she didn't kind of know that was a very strong possibility. I'm sure she had all type of friends and family and people around the industry all in her ear. I've been in the entertainment business since I was 17. I done name them. I've probably met them or worked with them. I done met all type of people. I done seen all type of crazy things. It all comes back to we're human. All right, Cardi, the man did what he did. There's a baby now. You want to wait for him to do it again? You want to play it out? At that point, once he did it the first time, this is what I'm saying. When somebody does something the first time, believe them. Then it's up to you to decipher what role you want to play from there on out. Are you going to own the fact if and when this happens again, that on that point, that one's on you because you allowed yourself to stay in that situation for that to possibly happen? How optimistic are we going to be? I'm a realist. I like to try to hope and pray that the person I love isn't this trash of a human being, But at that point, you got to sit back and think like, man, have we grown together or have I grown and this motherfucker's still here? When you kids involved, that ain't nothing to play with because that was a hard thing for me to bump. I left. It was hard for me. I never wanted to have a quote unquote broken home or whatnot. Ironically, when I left, my income quadrupled, but whatever. But and that, like I said, once somebody again, I come from my mom was Cardi B minus all the money. She unconditional love, and it took for her to damn near be dead multiple times to actually leave somebody or for that person to just straight up die. And then it was just like, well, I'm single now. You know what I'm saying? Like, at some point, you just gotta, how much do you love yourself? Do you love yourself enough to be like, you know what? If this is truly meant, we're gonna circle back around. I did a wedding for a couple in August. This is second go around. They got married again at in their late 50s. That man went and did some time. Before that, he had hurt her, and so on and so forth. And they circled back around. At some point, you gotta figure out where you're at with it.
Right.
Have you grown past this person? And if you have, are you willing to wait for them and deal with their bullshit until further notice? I hate to say I've seen this shit. That boy ain't nowhere near ready to be a man. He's still listening to him in interviews. It's like, this is the whole nigga still. He's still fucking the dude from the short dreads. You know what I'm saying? Like, his dreads got longer. He's still the same nigga.
So let's get very deep in here.
I've met him a few times. If I'm seeing that, how the hell can she not?
How did she not see it? Okay. So you're responsible to whoever you decide to lie yourself.
That first action is trash. The second one is just like, y'all share responsibility.
Okay.
It's easy for you to be able to see things when you're far removed from the emotional aspect of it versus you being in it. Like, rose-colored glasses are a real thing. Like, when you're in a situation, you have emotions involved, you have family involved, you have children involved. It's hard to remove yourself from a situation and have a level of discernment over it that makes logical sense. Love is not logical. Love is not.
That's true.
She did speak on it too. She I love that man. I'll never put him out there.
I'm sure they do.
Love his mama.
Let's get Veronique in here. I want to make sure your sound is right, baby. How's it going? It's been a flipagram.
How sounded it?
Okay, we can kind of hear you. There.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try it. Go ahead, Veronique. What you think?
Because I keep getting a delay. Lord.
You actually on point right now.
Yeah, you good.
But in terms of, thankfully, I barely hear y'all, but I guess that
we can hear you. Go ahead.
But I feel like in terms of the whole fidelity spiel in terms of Cardi B and Offset and all of that, and even dealing with it, not myself, but somewhat probably, it is hard, especially once you put all those years. And I gotta think for somebody that's as young as they are, they probably felt like, oh, we really gotta step up and figure it out and gotta do and blase, listening to people that have been probably in relationships and been married much longer and had to deal with a whole host of other things these people never have to deal with in terms of finances and all of that. We talk about our grandparents and how, they would stick it out for certain things, but sometimes it was also financial. Thankfully, they can go on about their way and their child can have the same style of living no matter where they go. But comes to these relationships, sometimes like us having to feel like we have to be understanding what it is that we possibly lack that make this person think that they can cheat on us, but just because of whatever it might be, um, that's acceptable, and it's not. I just don't feel like it's acceptable. Um, I understand the mindset and the emotion behind it. Um, like for so many other things, we have the time to take a step back and like really evaluate it, go with the logic, because at the end of the day, as much as we want to rely on love winning, it's crazy and unpredictable. And if you're gonna put the bet on anybody, why not bet on you being able to find your best self and attract somebody that's worthy of you?
Mm, that's a beautiful
So
word. That's a beautiful word. Go ahead, give it a snap.
yeah,
Tease, we about to bring it up
Bet
to
on
you.
my
yourself,
headphones
then bet
been
on
everything y'all
yourself.
had to say, so
I mean, we just gonna pray on
I'm
the signal,
trying.
Jesus. Just pray on the signal. Just if God could just touch her signal, Lord. Tease, bring us home. What do you think? With the
Touch
whole,
my bank account, Lord, and
I
get me a
just
laptop. That's
look
what I
and
need
just
from
go
you.
ahead while you're at it, Jesus. Touch my Nevian account as well, and just let them release me from whatever student loan bonds they have found me in. Come on, Jesus. All right, Tease, bring us home. We're gonna finish out with you on the topic, and then we're gonna do our closing remarks. So, Tease, what do you have to say as far as fidelity and responsibility and all that other jazz?
There was a few points that you guys made that I wanted to like talk about swiftly. But as far as Cardi B and Offset, I think we're making the assumption that they're both um in places that we can't, like, we don't know where they are mentally, right, or at their level of maturity. And I think Clarence actually said that he clearly, Offset clearly wasn't in a position to marry her, right? I mean, he was in a financial position to marry
Mm-hmm.
her, but was he in the mental, spiritual, and emotional place, okay, to marry her? No, he wasn't, right? And I also wanted to touch on the fact this whole idea of love and love not being something that um you can use logic for. So like I don't know if you guys are avid book readers or not, but Bell Hooks introduced a new definition for love, right? And so this whole idea that you're either falling or foolish for love is kind of like a part of that whole social construct. This whole like I'm swept off my feet and everything is perfect and blah blah, and like once you accept that into your being, then that gives you reason not to make decisions that might be difficult or might not being able to deal with things that might be difficult for you to, digest. Okay. And then as far as settling goes, I think that, I said this before, but settling and self-worth, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that a lot of times people settle
Mm.
because they don't have the drive that it takes, right, to go out and every day, because when you're dating, you're facing things within you that maybe you're not, you haven't been handling, and you're also dealing with things from other people. And so that whole idea of getting back out here and holding the mirror up to myself can be scary for a lot of people, right? And then I think that we're also talking about the whole cheating thing from a monogamous perspective. And I think that in the Black community, we need to start being willing to talk about whether or not people are actually monogamous. I don't think that some people are comfortable talking about it openly, right? But a lot of, when I say a lot, I don't mean half, but a nice percentage of people aren't actually monogamous, and they need to be open about that. And they need to have the space to be able to talk about that and say, hey, it's not that I'm not a relationship person. I'm just not a monogamous person. It might always be you and someone else. And so if that person who they're dealing with, after they put that on the table, has agreed to be involved in that situation and they're actively committed to making that work, then that should be something that is widely accepted by people in our community. Okay, that way we can stop having this conversation of like this person is cheating, blah blah, and like having all of this negativity attached to the fact that this person is like out here seeking other people to have a sexual relationship or emotional relationships with. And then lastly, Red actually talked about loose boundaries, and also Veronique, loose boundaries, and to tie in what Clarence was saying. So a lot of men will test you, right? They'll put their toe in the water, so to speak, right? And so they're trying to see what they can get past you, right? And so I think that goes with all of the points that I listed before. If you have loose boundaries, right, and you know that it's going to kill your soul for this man to do X, Y, and Z, but you don't have the courage to speak up and say, no, I can't deal with that, or this is a trigger for me, this is something that bothers me. If you don't have, if you're not able to articulate those things, then of course you're going to have this happen to you. If you're not willing to speak up for yourself, of course you're going to have this happen to you, right? And so, like, we need to talk about it from that perspective, because what's happening is we're kind of talking about it on this elementary kind of like level of like, no, this person's cheating, is a bad wife, it's a bad boyfriend, it's blah blah, whatever, and it's more complicated than that, right? It's our world is changing, right? The way that we define ourselves is changing, and we need to be prepare ourselves, position ourselves to be able to deal with all of these different type of. Y'all get what I'm saying?
Oh my God, you just summed it up so well.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we just saved her for the ending, baby. That's why she's the GOAT. Yes, all of that. I think that we talked about a wide range of what relationships look like for each of us, you know, and that's kind of what life is in a vacuum. A relationship is not a title. It's the connection that you feel with that other person and the agreements in which you make with that other person of what you expect in your situationship with that other person. And I think we all look at it different. You know, some people may need to have that title or call somebody something to be able to say that that's mine. That's what we claim we have. My boyfriend, my girlfriend, my boo, my lover, my homie, my other, you know, and all that. And I think that there's validity there, but there also is a question of, you know, why do you need that? And then there's that conversation we had about dating. You know, is there no rules to dating? And can you be monogamous? Can you be with just one person? And what that means to a relationship, or depends on what you're looking for. So I think we had a really well-rounded conversation about relationships and titles today. And I hope that all of those who are watching this just take a moment to consider yourself. And what I've heard is the overall concept is love yourself and have self-worth, is what I heard from just about everybody who spoke, is that the main thing in a relationship is making sure that you're straight first. So you're not imposing on this relationship things that you are missing and looking for that person to fulfill those needs, because you'll never find it in anybody else but yourself. So in that way, I appreciate all my panelists. So we're going to just go to final thoughts on the topic, and then also tell us your social media. If you have a business or anything that you want to promote at this time, please do, because Black business matters. And we will start with, let's start with Red, with your closing thoughts on the topic.
My closing thoughts on the topic of relationships is that personally, I do believe that the title is necessary in order to gain an understanding moving forward, regardless of what that understanding is, as long as there's a healthy level of communication. That's really the foundation that you stand on. Can I actually talk to this person? Does this person respect my thoughts moving forward, so that we both have a clear path forward? As far as my business is concerned, hi, my name is Red. I am a tattoo artist here in Detroit. I have a private studio on the west side of Detroit. If you are looking for a tattoo artist in Michigan, feel free to look at my my @ right here, Such Lovely Poison. Most of my handles are exactly the same. If you type in Such Lovely Poison, you'll pretty much be able to find me on Google. So take a look at my work. If you're looking for a tattoo artist in this area, then definitely let me know. Otherwise, those are my final thoughts.
Yes, thank you. I'm definitely going to come get some ink from you, baby. I need my Gertie's girl somewhere on my body, just somewhere.
Okay.
I'm coming. Queen Veronique, what do you have to say? Final thoughts on the topic of relationships and the titles that bind us. It's coming, y'all.
I think that all of you have given so much in terms of your perspectives, and I really appreciate that. And you know, in terms of titles and all of that, I'm not looking for one right now, but I do believe in them to an extent. And much to Red's um, point, honestly, as long as we're able to have that kind of communication, I haven't found somebody that I'm thoroughly comfortable being communicative with. Because there's a lot of stuff that I don't even know about myself that, hearing and trying to get through and dig out, much to, and I'm so sorry, I've forgotten how to say
Teeth, yeah.
Teeth. Oh,
Teeth.
jeez, I'm sorry. I keep having to throw the buds out of my head. But like for you to kind of bring it back to the point of of us having this kind of elementary understanding of what relationships are. It, I mean, it's so true, but I feel like so many of us are starting to really just build those blocks of what it is that we want in relationships, and we're to have these kinds of conversations with people like y'all, and for people to see like us to even have these conversations to kind of open up that space. Thank you so much, visionary. Um, Now, as for me, my name is below on IG and YouTube. So Journey the Comedian. You can find me here, there, and anywhere else if you bring it up.
Yes.
So thank you so much.
Yes, beautiful. Please follow her. Follow all Black comedians. We out here. Let's go ahead over. We go ladies first. We go in and out with Clarence. But Tease, go ahead. Give us final thoughts on the topic and anything that you're promoting or not promoting.
Okay, I just want to encourage people to actually have those difficult conversations, not being afraid to talk about things. I've had a lot of very difficult conversations recently, and through that, just practicing how to communicate more effectively, I found out things about me and how to deal with other people and learning how to be vulnerable, right? And when you're open to having that kind of dialogue, a lot of the things that happens in relationships can be easily worked out if we're just open enough to talk about it, right? And not feel like we're going to be reprimanded or judged harshly if we are open and honest about our views on things. Okay. And just reiterating, I know Veronique said I did call, our conversation, well, not our conversation, but our community's conversation and how we talk about relationships a little elementary, but that's because I think that we are religion kind of puts us in this box and how we're, how we need to deal with relationships, and that's not everybody doesn't deal in the same way. Religion is not as big of a part of everybody's life, and they don't lead their life in that way. And so we need to make it comfortable for people to be able to proceed in life however they choose to proceed, and know that it's not necessarily our business. But what is important is that everyone is working towards happy and healthier relationships overall. The title isn't necessarily important if you don't do the work to hold that title up. That was something that Red said about foundation earlier. But if you're not doing that work, you might as well not even have the title. What you need the title for?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have anything that I'm promoting or anything like that. But if you choose to follow me, my Instagram is the Beast Tease, TICE on Instagram. I don't have any other social media. That's it.
Yes. Thank you. All right, bringing us to a close of the close. Let's get it. Clarence, give me your last ideas on the topic, and also anything that you are promoting, sir.
I'm a simple man. It's we all are growing as people. It's never ending. We're going to be 93, still figuring some things out. I learned from my grandmother every time we talk, and she learns from me. It's a woman that was married 65 years. And my grandfather passed. They'd still be married. This is a woman that glows every time she thinks about him, speaks about him. So I'm a person that knows that, one, true love is possible, and two, being an entrepreneur, and having real love is possible, because my grandmother never had to work. My grandfather had his own business. So that's a whole another level in conversation. Loving someone, being in a relationship with somebody is one thing, but being with someone that's pursuing their own thing is a whole another level of patience and understanding, which is why, this conversation is important, because our generation is full of entrepreneurs. None of us want to work for nobody, so titles for us is important to a point, because we just simply don't have time to waste with somebody like us. So that's just what it comes down to. I love filming. I film. I create for a living. I love weddings because I get to see, different elements of love in different people, and to see that it's, there's still hope and humanity and peace and love amongst two people, whether they be different colors, same sex, whatever the case may be. But to even get to that point of marriage is so much work, and once you get there, the work's not done. The work really starts over. And people don't understand that. They get comfortable. You never should get comfortable. Life should be lit with your partner. You know what I'm saying? My lady, life is amazing. Like, I never took a vacation. I'm 33. I just came back from Miami. I spent a crazy amount of money. Old me would have passed out in the bank doing that. Now it's just like, whatever. I'm already made it back. So that having that communication, making sure your partner is your partner, like, that's your rider, that's your rock, that's your person. The titles, they create themselves. That's where your shit should be. You shouldn't have to give the title. The title should create itself. But companies, I define progress. It's not a cool slogan. It's literally a way of life. You dictate how much money you make today. You dictate if you're happy or upset. You dictate, if you are about to work on you today, or if you're gonna work on somebody else today or tomorrow. That's what I define progress is. It's a spiritual statement. It's all about self growth and everything else. I create for a living. I create ads for businesses, small and large. I've worked with Foot Locker, NAACP, Def Jam, Huntington Bank. I've worked with small, rappers, everybody that needs services of any sort of, creation. I do that shit. I've been doing it since I was like 17. So I'm 33 now. So whatever is needed. If I can't do it, I have an enormous network of people. Either way, it can get done. I build people in their dreams for a living. That's what I do.
Yes. And he worked with yours truly, okay?
There we
You
go.
just filmed my special, honey. We about to be out here. We about to be out here on all the networks. But I just want to say I appreciate all my panelists. Your ideas are valued. Your input is valued, and what you say matters. So, just some closing thoughts from me. I think love is an idea that it's a grandiose idea, and we all want to be in love and feel love, but love is whatever you make it. I think as a kid, I thought I would have fairy tale love. The prince would find me and I would be so happy and everything would be perfect and great. It's not like that. Real life is not like that. And that doesn't mean that it's still not beautiful. There's a beauty in having somebody that's willing to argue with your crazy ass. There's a beauty in being able to fight for something. Me and my husband are a decade in, going on over 10 years. When we have our anniversary, it's 1 year in marriage, but it's almost 11 years in a relationship. So it's a struggle, and it's but it's worth the fight. So if you are single out there and you're looking for someone, look for yourself first. Get to know yourself first. Find out your worth. Find out what you like and what you do not like. Date around. That don't mean you have to be hoeing around. If you want to hoe, don't feel bad about it. But date around. Get to know people, because you don't want to be in a situation and find out that you wasted all this time because you met somebody else and you was like, I like him better, but now with this situation shit, I can't even experience what's going on here. So date until that person says, I want you, and you decide that you want them to. Get to know yourself. Have a good time. Enjoy it. Life is short. Don't waste your time with shit that doesn't matter. Don't waste your time with people who don't consider you. Don't waste your time in the struggle. Just do what makes you happy every single day of your life. Get with somebody who wants to do what makes you happy every single day of your life. Get with somebody that can tolerate your bullshit, because you are not perfect and your shit stinks. So just that's all we really need, is somebody who's willing to stick with us when we fart in the bed at night. Somebody who's willing to wake up after you done told that person to put the food in the refrigerator and they left it out all night after you done cooked the whole dinner. Yes, this is a personal wreck. Yes, it happened yesterday. But that's what you want, is somebody who will do that and then the next day buy your lunch. You know, that's what you want. It's the little things in relationships that we look forward to that we don't think about. It's the little things that really make it. Just find somebody who will ride for you. That's it, point blank, period. Somebody that's willing to deal with you on a good day, a bad day, an indifferent day, a day that you don't even know what type of day it is. That's when you have your mental health days, and we all got those. Find somebody who's willing to deal with your shit. And if they can go through those days with you, that's the one. That's the one. All right. So I'm thankful for all my panelists. Thank you, everybody who's watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, repost, share. Give this message to all your friends. I'm Comedian Visionary Speaks. That's Comedian Visionary Speaks on all platforms. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of those good things. YouTube as well. And be good to each other. Vote, people. Damn it. Don't want to have to say it again, but I'm going to say it again anyway. Don't be stupid. Get out and vote. Don't be stupid. Get out and vote. Hey, don't be stupid. Get out and vote. Okay? So we can make it through this damn 2020. I'm sick of this shit, but we still got to vote.
And do not vote for Trump. Don't vote for Trump for a joke.
I mean, that's without being said. Okay? Y'all saw the debate. We ain't got to say it. That'll be on a different podcast. But we love y'all. Thank y'all. And we out of this thing.